You're listening to the Dirty Air Podcast.
Hey, let me hear some Skinner, brother.
It's in the face, Dilmer. In the face.
I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't know how to party.
And now, here are your hosts, Chuck Bush, Jonathan Merriman, and Matthew Dillner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Dirty Air Podcast. We are here today. It's a Tuesday, because we're recording on a Tuesday, because that's what we're going to do this week, because we got busy things going on Wednesday.
You know why? Because we can.
Because we can. We have that ability here on the Dirty Air Podcast. We are in the NASCAR.com studios outside the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Tons of fans out there.
Tons
Wow.
of fans. It looks like a school group.
Yeah.
Here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am Chuck Bush, joined today, as always, by Jonathan Merriman, Matthew Dillner.
Ooh.
And this week we have special in-studio guest, NASCAR.com analyst, NTS Motorsports Director of Competition,
Dirty Rice.
Chris Rass.
Hey, thanks for inviting
Chris.
me on, guys.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for showing up.
Absolutely. We waited forever for Dillner, okay? So 6 days of rain here in the North Carolina area, and what does Dillner do? Leaves his windows down. Has to go back and roll his windows up.
You gotta cut him a little bit of slack. He is a new father.
Baby brain.
And he did just get back from New Hampshire yesterday. It's been...
And
it's
the
been a
doctors
long-
with the wife, so it's been crazy.
You
been
didn't
a
bring
hectic
us a
couple of days.
cannoli this time.
I thought I liked you.
It's rained for 6 days, guys. No
Nope.
breaks.
It didn't rain in New Hampshire.
We don't
No
get
cannolis?
No,
breaks.
it didn't.
No
It
cannolis.
did not rain in... You were in New
I
Hampshire.
didn't bring any
It didn't rain.
cannolis this time. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm
No,
irritated.
oh.
Hey, I can't
Well,
do it all the time.
If you'd been at the track, he did bring some delicacies.
Yes, I did.
From
Some macaroons.
Some macaroons.
I don't even know what that is.
I didn't get one.
was not
next
very
time,
nice.
Rice, I'm bringing you a cannoli.
It was a big weekend, though. Big weekend in New Hampshire.
Dude, NHMS, baby.
Yeah, always fun up there. The weather was great. A little chilly in the mornings, but, for the most part, great weekend.
Fat guy weather.
Yeah, fat guy weather. Hashtag fat guy weather. That's Dillner's favorite type of weather.
Was the weekend great because of what went on the racetrack, or just you guys being out doing what you
Overall,
guys do?
we got seafood.
Yes.
We had... wait, I'm not supposed to say like other series because I get picked on, but NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was there. All sorts of, the truck series and paddock.
Strickert made a bet with him that he couldn't make it through a podcast episode without mentioning the modified series.
I don't like modifieds at all.
No.
I went back to Virginia. I didn't go to New Hampshire.
Well,
You did. Nice.
you missed out. It was a good weekend.
amazing.
But we're recording this show on a Tuesday because tomorrow a lot of things are going on in the NASCAR world tomorrow.
It's a big news day.
Big news day. The appeal is being heard. Clint Bowyer, they're going to hear that appeal tomorrow.
They're painting the
Hey,
walls.
They're painting the walls at Charlotte Motor
That's
Speedway.
awesome.
They're painting them pink.
That's awesome.
I've been through one of those appeals.
Yeah.
They're not fun at all.
It's an
Trust
all-day
me. You go in and you're sitting in this room, kind of like this, with a round table, and you're looking at
Yeah.
one guy, and it's
And
like you're sweating
pleading
the
your
whole
case?
time. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. About this time last year, I went through it.
We a lot of times we'll go up there and stake out and kind of camp out in the R&D Center for news coverage. So it's not as intense, but it is still a long day.
There's no marshmallows and campfires. It's not fun.
The other thing that's been going on, the internet has been ablaze with a supposed announcement that's coming tomorrow from Stewart Haas. Media sources are reporting that Tony Stewart will be out of the 14 in 2017.
Yeah, the 2016 is slated, as reported, to be his final season in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. What a career. And, this has been something that we've heard in the garage a lot over this year. Chuck, you know it. You've been in the
There's
garage.
been rumblings.
Jonathan, there's been a lot of rumblings. Well, will it happen? Is it really going to happen? I guess we'll find out tomorrow, but speculation is it will be Tony's last season in the Sprint Cup Series, full-time season.
From a fan's point of view, it kind of sucks, too, because, you think about him and Jeff Gordon being the last ties to the old guard, and you got Gordon going out this year and presumably Stewart going out next year. So, that's they tie back to a time where NASCAR was, at the peak.
I look at it a couple different ways. We got to make rooms for the Chase Elliott's, the Ryan Blaney's. Where are we going to put them? What happens when you're done? Jeff Gordon retiring is going to be something I think that we're going to look back on and go, what a career this guy had. And he's still young, Dillner. He's going to be
same thing with Tony Stewart. I mean, these are two guys that are going out in what used to be considered the prime of a race car driver's career.
Well, when and if he retires, if that's happening, he will be the last driver to have driven full-time in the Cup Series in the 90s. To me, he is the last driver to have won
Rookie of the Year in 1999.
In the old format and the new form. Like, he has won, back when it was the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, he won in that format. Then he's won in the Chase. He's got 3 titles.
And an Indy title.
He's that guy that bridges that. He and Gordon were the ones that sort of bridged that old school, new school. From my
perspective,
talk about
fan favorites too. I mean, if you look at the grandstands every week, you're going to see a ton of 24 gear. You're going to see a ton of Tony Stewart gear. So definitely within 2 years, losing 2 of the biggest names in our sport.
Yeah.
Is he ready to retire?
That's the thing, and that's the thing that I think we'll get answers from Tony. Because I remember years ago him saying, he wasn't sure if he wanted to run his entire career in the big leagues of NASCAR. He has a big passion for short track racing. I expect him to be heavily involved not only in his team with Stewart-Haas Racing, but also his World of Outlaws teams and a lot of other ancillary short track series and whatnot, because Tony has a huge passion on every level. And there's a lot of stuff that he does that y'all don't even know about that he keeps on the down low.
Do you think he's happy, though, running top 15 every week? And that's the big thing is,
man, we're racers. He's never happy
unless
he
he
wins.
He's not happy.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you think of what he can go do, and I mean, he's going to be a great proponent for those lower series and that stuff. And it's going to boost those feeder series up to maybe where they were a little while ago.
And you have to understand something about Tony Stewart, the competitor right now, just what Chris Rice said. When you're not performing to a winning level, that really hurts. Not only did he go through an absolutely traumatic injury, an injury that some people don't realize how extreme that injury was, and the things that happened to him the next year, last year. There's been a lot on Tony Stewart's plate, and it hasn't been rainbows and butterflies the last 3 years for Tony Stewart.
And that is never easy to bounce back from. But next week's episode, a lot of these questions may be answered after
I'm sure
this.
we'll be talking about it.
We'll be talking about it again. I mean, there's no way that this could be one of the biggest stories coming out of this year if this is what happens. And then the other speculation is who takes over that ride.
I think that's the worst kept secret in the garage area right now. Honestly,
I don't think it's a secret. I mean, we all know that Clint Bowyer is going to go to the 51 car next year. Okay, we all know that Clint Bowyer's always wanted to go to SHR. So I don't think it's I mean, look at what SHR has done. Look at the people they've taken from Michael Waltrip Racing and been successful with it. Rodney Childress, all of Rodney Childress engineers. I mean, you look at all of that. So what does Clint Bowyer think with 5 Hour Energy and all his sponsors? I go over there, I'm going to be successful.
And then obviously he's got to figure out what he's going to do for the 2016 season, and there's already a ton of speculation on what that's going to be. Speculation is, and reports have come out that he'd be in the number 51 car that Justin Allgaier is in. So
is it safe to say? I was going to say, is it safe to say that NASCAR silly season is in full swing?
It has exploded.
It happens, and I'm telling you guys, and only media knows about it about right now, but it starts happening. It's Charlotte, the first Charlotte race. Yeah. Yep. So I mean, it's not in full. It's in full swing, the first Charlotte race, because sponsors are not happy. Sponsors' physical year sometimes is June to June, so it's already starting then, which you don't know about until. So Tony Stewart, whatever he decides to do, and obviously when this comes out, we'll know. But I mean, he's had a great year.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
A great career.
First ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt.
No doubt. One heck of a dude. I'm sure he'll be around, so we're not going to say, hey, we're going to miss him. But, of course, you're going to miss seeing Tony Stewart, the competitor, on the racetrack.
Well, as a race fan, you grow up. A lot of race fans are nostalgic. They the old days, and that's that tie-in to the past.
He owns a race team.
He does.
4.
Yeah. And think about that team, though. If you throw Clint Bowyer into that mix, that's going to be one heck of a team.
Big personality.
Clint Bowyer has a personality? What?
Everybody in there has a personality.
But Let's talk about one of those other Stewart Haas racing machines, and that number 4. I think Chris Rice and I on the grid or starting grid feature on NASCAR.com both picked, and I did it on the show here. Both picked Kevin Harvick to win at Dover. Yeah.
How'd that go for you, Chuck?
It went really well right up until he ran out of gas.
No, you guys had it. You guys had it because Kevin Harvick was the class of the field all day. So you and Chris predicted it right. Okay, the outcome didn't say so, but you guys predicted the car that was the car.
To beat.
The car. Even Matt Kenseth, the victory lane, said the 4 was the best car out there today.
All he was doing was just trying to put pressure on him because he didn't think he could catch him.
And he was masterful in that because if you listen to their radio in the closing laps, Matt Kenseth's radio and the communication there, they knew if they put heat on the number 4 car that he couldn't save any fuel. And they were close. They estimated about being short about 2 laps, the 4 crew.
And, Denny Hamlin was in front of him, and they were talking about the fact Denny doesn't have it to get up there and pressure him because they were on the same, they could have run out of gas. So it was on Kenseth to put the pressure on.
Who picked Kenseth last week? I believe we both.
Yeah,
did.
I believe we both picked Kenseth last week. So.
Wow.
Oh, well, I mean, pick Kenseth. You can pick all the Joe Gibbs drivers you want to. Somebody's going to be there.
And I mean,
to go from saying at Chase Media Day, I'm going to pound Gibbs or we're going to pound Gibbs into the ground, to now it looks like the reverse is happening.
Wait. 2 races in the Chase, 2 playoff races so far, 2 Gibbs drivers locked in those 2 races. That's not being beaten down on the ground by anyone.
I mean, that's them beating the competition into the ground.
They're giving the beat down.
And we've said it. We've said it for the past couple of weeks that Gibbs they are the cars to beat.
Yeah, they've been the cars to beat for the last month and a half, 2 months. But you look at the beginning of the year, they couldn't hold a candle to anybody. So I've said it on a preview show a bunch of times. Toyota, TRD, all those guys are not going to give up, and they're showing their speed now. But now let's look at it. Let's look at a couple of things that have happened to be able to get them speed. Their motors have gotten better. Their bodies have gotten better. The drivers are communicating with their crew chiefs because they were shaken up. All but one crew
New
chief.
combinations.
It was
That
new
takes a while.
combinations, so it takes a little while. So not only all that come down the pipeline, but the other teams, the Hendricks, are not as fast as they've been. So they're looking way good right now. All the Gibbs cars are looking awesome right now, but it shows you the depth that Toyota, Gibbs, and all those guys do have.
It's all coming together all in one the right time.
We talk about Toyota, and the 78 car announced that they're going to be running Toyota next year. You think that's going to affect their performance, Chris, from a competitive standpoint? Because if you remember when they went to RCR stuff that first year, they ran miserable. This year they picked it up. Did they learn anything going through that transition once? And obviously a manufacturer change is even bigger than just going to within your manufacturer, just to a partnership.
Well, let me ask you a question. Where are they going to buy their chassis from? Where are they going to buy their bodies from? Who are they going to get their cars from? Right now they get everything from RCR. Bodies, chassis, motors, all the components that go on it, all of their engineering support, everything that they do. Who are they going to get that from? Is Gibbs going to open their door?
Well, they have a partnership. They did announce that they
yeah,
have a partnership.
Joe Gibbs was at the announcement at New Hampshire.
So that's the question. If they do that, if Gibbs does that, they'll pick up right where they were. If they do not do that, they're going to struggle.
I hate to take the contrasting point of view here, but I think that it's going to be a little bit of a struggle right out of the gate for them because of the fact that they are a single car team still. You saw what happened the last time that they had a change. It took them a little while, whether it was a driver change or support change from RCR, but it might take a little bit of time for that 78 bunch to catch up. I would like to see, personally, I'd like to see what they've been talking about for years, the possibility of getting another team on board with the Furniture Row Racing team. I think that would help that effort so much. And right now they're looking for sponsors for the number 78 car to sign Martin Truex to a long-term deal. So I'd love to see a second team there.
They also have a rules package that's going to change next year too to compound the issue.
Yeah, but that's why I said if they get the support from Gibbs that they getting from RCR, Toyota's not going to let them fail.
No.
They need another Michael Waltrip Racing.
Yep.
They've lost a huge organization with Michael Waltrip Racing going away. So they need another one. So they're not going to let them fail. Now, if they don't get all of that, they will struggle. But I'm telling you, if they get all the
out of the
Gibbs
gate,
cars,
though, out of the gate,
they won't. Martin Truex has been through the Toyota stuff. You know, the trim kid's been through it. So all of that.
I love it. The trim kid,
Burn.
There you go. Burn. Yeah. All of those guys have been through it, so they know what Toyota is there and can do for them, and they'll tap into all the resources. I don't think they'll struggle if they get the Gibbs cars, they get the Gibbs bodies, and they get the up-to-date stuff. They don't get what they're running right now. That's the key.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. looking like he's probably going to move on to the next round. But at that Gibbs camp, if we go back to that, you've got Kyle Busch, who has had a interesting year.
Yes.
He has fought back from adversity. He's now 1 point out. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 1 point to the good. Kevin Harvick going to have to win to go to the next round. Paul Menard sitting back there. Clint Bowyer sitting back there, too. Clint Bowyer, I think it's going to take a lot.
I think Clint is done. I'd hate to say that because I like Clint. But you look at that Kyle Busch deal. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm going to make a prediction. Kyle Busch is going to get in this chase.
He'll get a top 5. And
you know why? Yeah, he'll be safe. He'll either get on points or he's going to win at the Monster Mile because he's good there. But the other thing I want to say is when he does get in, you're going to look back. Everybody needs to look back if he does get in at what that crew did last week at New Hampshire.
All hands on into the garage.
Oh, my Lord. How quick
30-some
that
laps.
team and Gibbs as a whole pitched in to get that car back on the track was unbelievable. And that's the thing that championship teams are made
Do you
of.
remember the day Kyle Busch left the racetrack where they were fixing his car? He didn't do that day,
No.
did he?
If you listen to the scanner sounds, he was calm. I don't know what happened.
Because
Yeah.
he's in a different place than he's ever been. And
I
he's
will-
with a team right now that is on top of the mountain, and he knows that they can rebound.
I want to throw something out there for everybody to think about. Kyle Busch either wins or he crashes at Dover.
Ooh. Well, he's going to be going for it. You know that.
You
There's
have
going to
to.
be
You
a
have to
bunch
go-
of guys that are going for it, like Jimmy
Look up his
Johnson.
stats. He either wins or he crashes. It's
At
no
Dover.
in between
It's
at Dover.
It's gonna be big.
But-
Dover's gonna be big.
Harvick he's crazy fast. He's freaky fast every time he goes to Dover.
Freaky fast.
Freaky fast. the last three for Dale, the last 3 races at Dover, who should have won them? Kevin Harvick.
Hey,
Woulda, coulda,
Shoulda,
shoulda.
yeah,
He
woulda,
should have
coulda,
won.
shoulda.
This is the second time they've run out of gas. They should have won Watkins Glen.
So
he should have won at New Hampshire.
Should have won at New
the
Hampshire.
4 and 18 could wreck each
They
other.
haven't won since the spring.
And
that'd
get
be
Clint
awesome.
Bowyer in.
The
So
4
don't
has
give up
not
on
won
Clint Bowyer.
since the spring.
Never give up. Until the checkers fly, I'm not giving up on anybody.
Hey, that's why we
in
race,
this
and
chase.
that's why this chase and this elimination race, which this first round should be the one that, if any of them are kind of like, oh, whatever, this could be the most exciting elimination race that we see. It's amazing.
Well, people talk before the year. Are we going to see the excitement we saw last year? Yep. I think it's a little more elevated, these first 2 races. So
The excitement is there. And with the elevated excitement, sometimes you get comments from drivers on decisions made by NASCAR. And one of the big talking points right now are restarts. Restarts. We were talking about it at dinner the other night, Dilner.
It's a hot topic right now in NASCAR. It is the hot topic in NASCAR, not just for us media folk, but for the drivers, for the teams, for the fans, for everybody.
Okay. I know we're probably not supposed to talk about this. Let's go back and look at Austin Dillon's final restart in the truck race.
Okay.
Let's look at that. If you could pull that up, you could find that. Let's look at that, and you see how much he got in front of Matt Crafton there. Okay, and then let's talk about the 2 car. Brad Keselowski, Greg Biffle's on the outside. Has Greg Biffle started on the front row in 2016? Come on, guys.
No. What a run for them.
You know what I mean? So hot tires, it's Loudon. I've talked about it on the preview show. You cannot get grip when you take off there. So did he spin his tires? We will never know. We was not sitting in the 16
Two
car.
people know.
That's right. 2 people know. So, I mean, did he jump the restart? What's the ruling?
Well, there was a lot of good things, a lot of crazy things said about it afterwards. That was the thing that really caught a lot of our attention.
Well, and, Brad Keselowski had a couple of comments that he said about the restart. So let's take a listen to that right quick, and we'll discuss it on the other side.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic understanding, and it's an entertainment sport, not fair sport, but we had a great car. The team on the Miller Lite Ford Penske team was really strong. I don't know if we would have been able to beat the 20 and 11. It looked like they probably had 4 tires, but like you said, heck of a rebound. Really proud of my guys to come back and get a top 12 out of that, without getting another yell or catching under the brakes after the black flag. So part of it.
There you had it. He says entertainment not fair. NASCAR did respond. But real quick, before we listen to what Richard Buck had to say about this, just looking at that restart, if you're watching on NASCAR.com or on YouTube, you can see that. You can also go and watch the replay on NASCAR.com in the highlights section. To me, from my perspective, it looks like he went early, and it doesn't look like... It looks like he went a skosh early. And his major complaint was that he didn't gain any position on it.
I just think he's lucky with saying that. We've seen NASCAR fine drivers before for actions detrimental to the sport with comments in terms of the whole entertainment sport comment there. So I think he should cut his losses and just be glad he wasn't fined in the chase for saying something that could have got him in trouble.
Well, and the guys, NASCAR's officials have said that it is a subjective call.
Balls and strikes.
It's balls and strikes. And that it's difficult to say who's right, who's wrong in that instance. But they made the call, and they stuck with it. And Richard Buck had this to say following the race outside the Sprint Cup hauler.
It's pretty simple. NASCAR's decision is not simple. We take a lot into that. We looked at all the data that was available to us, all the video. We have our senior official on the ground. We made sure the rules were very clear to everybody. Obviously, in the last couple of drivers' meetings, made sure that we got everybody informed. And in fact, today during the race, again, reminded them on each restart, before the race and on each restart about the rules. It's a language that we have for the restarts, and that language is there's a double red mark on the wall and there's a single red mark on the wall. The leader is the control car and has earned the right to restart the race. He must restart the race in that zone, and the leader was the 16 at that point. The 2 car restarted in the zone before the 16 did. We listened to the garage. I mean, we listened to what they say. They wanted clarity. We gave them clarity on it. It's very clear, very defined in the rules and regulations. We made sure everybody was clear on that, and we're not out to get anybody. But we're the keeper of the rules and the enforcer of the rules, and we wanted to make sure everybody understood. All anybody asked for in this garage area is to be treated fairly, and we believe we did our job today.
If you listen to what he said about where the restart happens in that zone and you watch the slow motion replay, I feel that was the right call. It was within the rules as they put out.
I don't.
You don't?
No. Until you've drove a race car or you've been in that situation, you can't explain what went on in both of their cars. Okay, so I disagree with the call. Okay, I go back to Chicago. And I look at Chicago and I go, okay, when Jeff Gordon done what he done, was that the right call that they made? At the time, I said, yes, it was the right call. Now I look at the call that they made at New Hampshire, which is 1 week later, and he did give the spot back, which you're not supposed to. The rule says you cannot beat the control car to the start-finish line. Agreed. But the rule also states if they miss a gear or if they spin a tire.
My whole thing with this whole restart thing is it's a ball and strike call. So did NASCAR make the wrong call? Maybe not. I don't think it was the right call personally, but it's a ball and strike call. We're not going to be happy with every pitch in a baseball game. But here's what I say. I look at the lines. I look at the lines on the track. Hear me out on this. And if you look at a replay and you snap your fingers when they cross the double line, and then snap your fingers when they cross the next line, at 65 miles per hour, pace car speed, coming up to that restart, it's this. That leaves a very small, minute time for these guys to fire. There's a lot of gamesmanship. There always will be. That's part of racing. A lot of drivers have expressed, and people have expressed to me in the garage area, that they would like to see that restart box possibly extended.
That's going to cause more wrecks back in the field.
It could.
But if you go and look at that at the slow motion.
This might cause wrecks
from the
in
top.
field with
And I don't know if you can pull that up, Chuck, with the people that's watching.
There's
But
B-roll of that.
You look at it at the top, you can tell the 16 car spun its tires.
Yes.
Watch the 41. Just cue off of the 41. The 41 goes when he sees the 16's backdrop, okay? Just cue off of him. Nothing else, cue off of the 41.
Yes.
Cue completely off the 41 and compare him to the 2. That's what I would have looked at. Because Loudon, New Hampshire, Loudon Speedway, whatever you want to call it, is really bad for tire spin on a restart because we don't take tires there. The tire that they bring is not what we call a really grippy tire. So when it's cold like it is, it takes time for it to get grip in it. When it's cold like that, you spin them.
Let me ask you a question. In growing up in short track racing, I know you grew up South Boston Speedway, whatnot. I grew up in the Northeast. We've been in racing our whole lives. In a lot of different series, and yes, this is not NASCAR's top series the way they do it, if a restart is questionable, they will throw a yellow flag and redo the restart and give a warning if they think somebody, or if somebody gives the spot back into turn number 1. Do you think that that's something we should look at in a very close call like this? Or do you think it's just balls and strikes and it's going to be what it is?
I wanted to say this a minute ago. You say it's balls and strikes, okay? And nowadays, when you watch a baseball game, they got this box up, right?
We had a box up with NBC.
They got this box up, and they call them balls and strikes.
And sometimes you see it outside of it.
They don't review the balls and strikes.
True.
It's still a subjective call, though.
It's subjective.
Agreed.
Yes, it is.
Agreed. I agree with that 100%. Make the call immediately, be done with it. Then at least you got an out. Right now we have no out. It's too much. We have no out.
I'm saying you have such a small box to fire in that if there's a little bit of gamesmanship within that box, it can easily appear that the non-lead car, the car that's not supposed to fire first, can fire first. It's a tricky deal, and there's always going to be gamesmanship in restarts. It has been since the beginnings of racing.
That situation could have caused a big wreck at the back.
Do you look at changing the restart procedures altogether? I mean, I've heard some people say that maybe just have one car start in single file out front and then stack them up two behind.
I don't like that.
It's racing.
It's racing. I agree with that.
When Bobby Allison
what would Bobby
raced,
Allison say?
What would Bobby Allison say?
I'm just saying to end the, that's not subjective.
We're always going to have that debate.
First to the line.
But you know what? At every level of racing I've been at, we've always had the debate. Did he jump to start? Did he jump to start? No, he did. Yes, he didn't. And you know what? NASCAR tries to be so precise, and they have such amazing technology. And some of the technology we see on pit road with some of the penalties and infractions, and it's amazing. But there's going to be things that are up to a judgment call. And there's nothing wrong with that. Do I think they got it right maybe this time? Personally, no. But you know what? I respect the fact that they're the umpire in this situation. And they're going to make a call, and they're going to stick with that call, and they're going to be fair. It's not going to be, hey, this driver did it, we're going to let him go. This driver didn't, blah, blah, blah. But
I like it just because we can debate it. We have something to talk about.
What I don't like is the fact that a guy that was in second place ended up having to come in on a green flag cycle. That doesn't put him back to second or back to third if he gives that spot back. That ruins his day. That's a tough penalty for such a slight possible infraction and a questionable call.
Is it slight, though?
That was slight.
Is a restart a slight infraction?
Yeah, because, I mean, you look at the amount of time between... it wasn't blaring. It wasn't...
I think what makes it slight is he gave it back.
What I'm saying is, in this situation, in the chase, in the playoffs, is that a slight infraction?
Yes, it is, because he did not launch out there in turn 1 and lead into turn 1. They fired about the same time. He fired a little before. The 16 obviously spun his tires. Going into 1 there, yeah, you're not supposed to be ahead of the car at the start-finish line, but you saw him give that spot back. So that's why I think this was a slight infraction.
Personally, I think they should make it like Daytona, Talladega. You go below the line, you pass somebody, you have to give the spot back. That way you're not black flagging cars and, killing somebody's championship.
They have it tough. I mean, it's very tough to call a race. And I don't think they look at it as it was a 2 car, or it was a 24, or it was a 4, or even if it was a 23. I don't think they look at that. They look at the situation that is at hand at the point. At time. You know what I mean? Because you got the 16 car that hadn't been up front at all year. He has not started on the front row that I can remember once. Has not even had a car that can contend once this year. and he's up there. And, oh, yeah, so be it. He spins his tires. We see that with kids and rookies, and people do that all the time. So I think you have to look at what they had information, their information they had. They made the call that they thought was right. I don't think it was right personally. We can't change it. Yep. What Brad Keselowski said, yes, it is an entertainment sport. I still think the sport is fair. I don't think the sport's not fair.
If the call goes against you, it's not fair.
Right. And that's I think my main takeaway from Keselowski is it's almost like sour grapes. Like,
where's your
I don't blame him. I don't blame him for having sour grapes.
Think about the manager that goes kick dirt on the official.
Right.
I mean, it's the same situation. It's no different.
It's emotional.
And NASCAR, like with the NFL, with baseball, they go back to the central office and review plays.
We go back to a black trailer with amazing, amazing technology.
But they're at the track. Everything is right there, and it's happening in real time. And it's a difficult call. And I respect them for making the call, sticking with it. And personally, I think it was the right call. I think he jumped it. And I think within the letter of the rules, I think they were right with what they did. Now, that being said.
I'm done talking to Chuck.
Oh. That being said, we have a big weekend coming up at Dover.
Huge.
You know, little things like this become big debates. You know, you say it's a minor infraction, but it has sparked a big debate in the entire garage.
And that's what they built with this chase.
So we're at the first elimination race of this chase.
Actually, we're at the third. Because you could have got eliminated in the first race.
But the first elimination race where they take people and they cut them off the island. Like
we're cutting it down.
You're off the island.
We're going from 16, we're going to 12. You've got Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the bubble. Kyle Busch on the bubble. They're going to be battling.
Kevin Harvick, desperate.
Oh. I mean, you've got Kevin Harvick, you've got Kyle Busch that both need to win.
Yeah, well, Kyle Busch
could get in, but they both need to get into the next round.
Well, if all heck breaks loose, technically everybody could get in on points. But
yeah, we could have a big one. You know how it happens there at Dover, where all of a sudden you have a big wreck coming off of turn number 2 there, and it clogs up about 20 cars.
I'm gonna have to get on Jonathan here for a minute. He's got to get closer to his mic, man. You keep drifting.
You're not used to being over there.
He's not used to being over here.
I'm your Linus blanket. I'm your Linus blanket. When you're over here,
I don't like
you feel
that
security when you're near me.
I want to talk about, you talk about it's a big race. Mm-hmm. Here's the biggest problem. It's going to rain all weekend.
I don't want to hear that.
Hey, that's a worst 4-letter word in racing. You hear a lot of 4-letter words in racing.
You're going to be out in the desert.
Yeah, 100 degrees. But
it doesn't rain out there.
It's going to rain. Okay, so what does that do for the racetrack?
Green.
Yep.
Green track.
Where does the driver start at? Where do you start your bump stops? How much travel do you need? How much? Let me tell you something.
Going into it blind almost?
Blind.
So you're saying that a bunch of crew chiefs, not just the drivers, but a bunch of crew chiefs are going to be popping Rolaids and Tums.
Rolaids.
Except for one team. The 48 will be comfortable at Dover.
No, they got more pressure. They have more pressure than ever because they're not safe in this chase now.
They're running
and
better.
They've won there 2,422 times, of course, at Dover, but that might be a little bit more pressure.
I tell you what, Carl Edwards runs good there.
Yes.
I'm just saying if you're
going to... a lot of people runs good
If you're going into Dover blind and you don't take Jimmy, something's wrong with you.
I'm not taking Jimmy.
I'm not taking Jimmy.
Something's wrong with... I'm saying if it rains.
And I'll go ahead and say it right now that Rodney Childress and Kevin Harvick are going to do what they done at Phoenix last year.
Win?
Embarrass everybody. They're
Beat them into the ground, per se?
They're going to be fast.
They're going to unroll with the baddest piece in that garage.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what Rodney Childers does.
Yep.
Rodney Childers is one of the best crew chiefs in this business. But we saw they did that this week at Loudon. What happened?
Yeah, ran it out of fuel.
That's why we race every lap. That's why we play every down of a football game. And that's the deal. It's sports, baby.
It's not the New Hampshire 289.
That's right.
It's 300.
Ran out with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, well, I can't do math.
Well, I said this.
It would be 297.
297.
You watched the preview show on Thursday on NASCAR.com. The question was asked, how do you race that race? If you're 1 through 12, okay, how do you race that race? This is the way they're going to race that race. 300 laps. They're going to race it very conservative. The last 100, they're going to figure out how to put themselves in position to do something spectacular.
Yes. That is the one thing that I've noticed when there is the threat of weather and these drivers go out there. They get to where they know is good to go. You get to halfway, whatever, and then it is game on.
It's on.
It's game on.
Like-
we race races. Okay, if we're watching the weather, we race races to halfway. That's our checkered flag. And if we go any further, that's just a bonus.
And
We're
it's
in the
just-
bonus time. Where you see green, white checkers. If we go past halfway during a rain deal, we're in the bonus.
So
What
what
about-
I'm gathering from
What about
this-
qualifying? Is it going to rain qualifying?
It's
day?
going to rain. Let
Well,
me tell
I'm
you
just
what's
saying,
going to happen.
Is the 21
It's
going
not
to
going to rain all weekend.
Because if the 21's going to Dover, it's probably going to rain. They're probably going to miss the show because that's
I
happened
think
to them.
he is.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you,
bad
it's going to
omen.
rain. I'm sorry. It's just
You
going to
were
rain.
putting this bad juju on us, and you're
I
going
know
out to
Dover.
Vegas. where
Don't
it's
listen to Chris Rice.
I
Folks,
know
don't
Dover.
listen. He's not Jim Cantori, okay? He's Chris Dirty Rice. He's not Jim Cantori. So
Yeah,
I'm
where's
telling
your
you.
meteorology degree?
Weather Brad, I'll listen to him. Jim Cantori any day. Rice, I'll listen to you about racing every day.
Follow me on Twitter, and I'll be picking on Dillner.
I
need a
look
tent.
at the weather rock. If it's wet, it's raining. If it's dry, it's not.
We need a tent to put over
Obviously, Dillner does not look at the weather rock. He leaves his windows down when it's been raining for
In a
6
garage, it's okay.
days in North Carolina. But that
So you're taking Kevin Harvick.
I'm taking Kevin Harvick.
Who are you taking?
Hands down, Kyle Busch. Market, post, done.
Wow.
Far enough?
I already said if you don't pick the 48, you're an idiot.
So you're saying that all three of us are idiots?
I mean,
I guess so.
We'll find out next week.
Hey, we left one for you.
I'm going Joey Logano.
Good pick. Good pick.
What?
He's
I
not
think Joey Logano will get in on the steal on points, but he's not going to win. But it's a good pick.
Yeah.
Let's pick really quick right off the bat. 2 drivers other than Kevin Harvick and Clint Bowyer who we don't think are going to make it.
Oh, I can tell you. I can tell you who I don't think's going to make it. I'll start that off
Go for it.
real quick.
Who
I
you
don't
got?
think Menard's going to make it. I think he's going to put
Paul
too much
Menard out?
pressure on himself.
Yes.
And I don't think Jamie McMurray's going to make it.
That's who I was picking.
And the only
Unfortunately, yeah.
reason I say that is because McMurray's team is not ready to make it to the next round. I do believe they've done a great job this year, but I don't think they are ready to handle the pressure that is put on them now.
There's some that said Jamie McMurray in the closing few races of the season was running defensively. Okay?
Yeah.
And you can't run defensively.
You can't
when
go
you're
into a
on the
zone
bubble.
off defense. You cannot go into
and
zone
that's why I
offense.
think I agree with you. Him and Menard, Bowyer, and I hate to say this, but Kevin Harvick, the defending champion, won't make it. That's just my prediction.
There you go.
Wow. Right here on, what's this thing called?
The Dirty Air
The
Podcast.
Dirty Air
Podcast.
Thank you.
That
It's written
transitions
behind you.
perfectly.
Hey, thanks. Let's big words right
Perfect
back here.
transition.
Dirty Air.
Perfect
just
transition
said-
because every week on the Dirty Air podcast, if you looked at the sign behind you, it says we're on the Dirty Air podcast, which you can find in iTunes. Jonathan Merriman has an Eagle fact of the week. So let's go.
Give me that eagle.
Give me that Eagle. Let's go to Jonathan Merriman's Eagle fact of the week.
All right, we're talking about people making it and people not making it. That made me question how many eagles survive to adulthood. That's a little morbid, but it's a fact that is
Poor Eagles.
perfectly
This Eagle survived to
perfectly
adulthood.
landed. Okay, so in a number of studies, it's between 1 in 8 and 1 in 10 eagles survive to adulthood, and that is the age of 5 years old. So yeah, 1 in 5, 1 in 8, or 1 in 10, somewhere between there is the survival rate of adolescent eagles into adulthood.
In the
Some
chase,
Eagles
it'll
will
be
not
12
survive.
of 16.
yeah,
will
so,
survive,
it's
so,
it's
you know.
close.
Odds, math, statistics.
Bobby, what do you think? That's what I thought.
I think Bobby Allison thinks that this is going to be an awesome race. Do you, Bobby?
I think
Yes.
I think from what we have
Yes.
heard on this podcast today that Dover is going to be exciting. It is going to be a fun weekend. We're going to have Jonathan Merriman up there. Matthew Dillner is going to be up there. I'm going to be up there. It's going to be a full squad. You're going to be
Eagle
out in
curls.
Vegas.
I'll be in Las Vegas. Black or red, everyone?
Put me on the black 3.
Red. I'm going to go red.
Oh, I go black 3 all the way too. 3 for
Yeah, 3
All
for
right.
him. Yeah.
I'll
go red 8.
red 8.
By the way,
black 3.
your driver Daniel Hemrick will show you that this is the correct way to do it.
That's right. Daniel Hemrick is on it, everyone. If you don't know this, Daniel Hemrick's one of the best ones I've seen
Look
come
out
along.
for him this weekend.
It's going to be a big weekend in Vegas. The battles are heating up in the
I gotta go.
Xfinity Series. The battles are heating up in the Truck Series. So, for everybody here at the Dirty Air Podcast, remember to log on to NASCAR.com. Watch the highlights from the race. Watch the stuff here. Go to YouTube. Check out the full-length replay of the Dirty Air Podcast. I'm getting pecked on here. Or subscribe in iTunes by searching
says Bobby.
The Dirty Air Podcast. Search The Dirty Air Podcast. You can search that in YouTube. You can search it on iTunes. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. For everybody here at The Dirty Air Podcast, for Jonathan Merriman, Matthew Dillner, and special guest analyst this week, Chris Rice, I'm Chuck Bush, reminding you to hop out there in the clean air, chase down the leader, and we'll see you next week back in the pack here in the Dirty Air.
Dirty Rice, Chris.
Dirty Rice.
Thanks for having me, everyone.